Hi everyone, so today we are going to talk a little bit about insulin resistance. So insulin resistance can happen when your body isn't using its food fuel as it should, and it can dysregulate your blood glucose levels. So we see this in pre-diabetic people, people who already have diabetes, and also in chronic dieters, people who have metabolic issues like hypothyroidism, and women who have PCOS. Anyone at any time can develop insulin resistance. So it's important to know how to eat to help kind of level off those hormones so your body's getting the right cues. So the glycemic index is probably something we've all heard at some point in our lives, and can help determine what foods you can eat without having a huge blood sugar spike and drop. So it's not like this where you're yo-yoing. It's just kind of like constant and steady, which is what we want it to be anyway, and have consistency. It's not to say that you can't eat those things. We just need to load up those things. So let's just take pasta, for example, like super refined 89-cent pasta. You can still have that as long as you're not just eating that pasta. We have to add things to it to slow down the digestion of it. So we're adding in fiber, we're adding in protein, we're adding in healthy fat. So maybe we're doing it in an olive oil and garlic sauce. We're adding in those cruciferous veggies, those fiber-filled leaves, really any type of veggies at all. And then we're adding in protein on top of that to make it that complete meal of protein, carb, fat, fresh. That way it can just kind of slow down the digestion, because that's when things spike, is when you eat something like a cupcake. All that is sugar and fat. So it doesn't have anything to stop and slow it down. There's no fiber in it. There's no protein in it. And we need that so that we don't have the spikes. And that's kind of how that works. So things that you may not want to eat all the time are going to be those ultra processed foods and your white grains. Again, remember, you can still eat these things, just add fiber and protein to them. It also will probably stop you from going up for 5 bowls of pasta at the same time. Everything else is honestly fair game. So we're talking whole foods. I can't say that enough. Whole foods will help with literally everything that is going on in your body. Eating whole foods, eating fruits, eating veggies, eating protein, having dairy if you're not lactose intolerant, having your healthy fats, having nuts and seeds, legumes, your whole grains like quinoa and barley, oats, things like that, especially if you're not gluten intolerant or have celiac or have anything issues with gluten. Remember that you can still eat your starches. So potatoes are a starch. Potatoes are also a resistant starch. So those take the body longer to break down and digest. Potatoes have a really bad rap. The same thing kind of goes for white rice. So if you're cooking white rice and then you put it in the fridge overnight, let it cool off, once you eat it and you re-warm it up again, it produced those resistant starches. So then you can eat that and it will slow everything down even more on top of the fiber and the protein that you're adding to that meal. But a couple of examples of resistant starches are going to be your potatoes, cassava, oats, plantains, peas, and chickpeas. I do know chickpeas can be very weird for a lot of people. They're really hit or miss depending on. Make sure that you're thoroughly cooking your chickpeas. You're not eating a ton. I know it can give a lot of people gastrointestinal upset. It's a really big food along with like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and other cruciferous vegetables, especially if you have any stomach issues, constipation, diarrhea, IBS, IBD, any of those type of things that may hurt your stomach. Please remember to have those. If you are going to have them, make sure they are super cooked and in very small portions. That way you're still getting the nutrients without it hurting your stomach. So those are just a few foods that you probably shouldn't eat a lot, which we shouldn't really be eating a lot anyway. And sticking to that whole foods lifestyle will pretty much help with generally everything, especially with insulin resistance.